Hi, I'm Abhishek Arora. I work at Microsoft's India Development Center in Bangalore, and I work as a software development engineer, or SDE for short.
So Abhishek, tell us about the different stages that you went through during the process of your recruitment.
Okay, so my recruitment firstly just spanned a single day. At least the rigorous process involving interviews and coding spanned only a single day. The preliminary round was on a separate day. So the preliminary round was just your basic C aptitude. It was entirely C aptitude, about 15 questions, which was done in an online fashion, and you just need to brush up on your C skills for that. So the second round was an online coding round where we were given two questions. The first one, a simple linked list problem. The second one, to do with two-dimensional arrays. A little more difficult problem, but not unsolvable if you've done your basic coding exercises. So the second round was also pretty chilled out. The third round was a weird round in that they split half the crowd into interviews, and the other half made us stay in one room and gave us a single problem to solve. So how Microsoft really likes to approach its coding problems during interviews is they ask you to write down the code for a problem. So they're not giving you a keyboard or anything to type on to check if your code works correctly. They will ask you to write it down right there, and they will run through it manually, line by line, and see do all the processing in their head, see what happens. So the important part is you've got to get it right on the first try. So this was again a simple linked list problem, but this time we had to play around a lot with memory allocation. So I don't remember the exact details because it's been quite a while, but it had a lot to do with memory allocation. So again, that requires a lot of C knowledge and how you really manipulate memory at the system level using C. So after that, the fourth round was our first technical interview. That consisted of mainly two technical questions, one of which was again linked list. Yeah, Microsoft really loves linked lists in basic data structures. So now the problem was pretty difficult, this one. It was a little complicated, and I feel I had the upper hand because I'd done a very similar problem while practicing a few days before. That really helped out. So the second problem was a basic data collection and analysis problem, wherein they give you a set of data with limited resources to process it and ask you how to do it in the most efficient manner. So it's more like an algorithmic approach, and they didn't really ask me to code it. Apart from that, they checked out my resume and just read the thing right on top. They didn't really go into all the details. Apart from that, I felt the HR in this round was really intermingled with everything else. You can't really tell the difference. Like they'd randomly pop up with why Microsoft, or why not some other company? What are you really interested in when it comes to Microsoft? So be prepared to answer those questions as and when they come. And yeah, the fifth round and the fifth and final round was my last technical interview, which was rather short in comparison. It was just one question, which is again, you guessed it, linked lists, where they asked me a simple problem, which was, if I remember right, something to do with just traversal of a linked list. But what they wanted was a full system level understanding of what goes on when the program is being processed. So they first ask you to write the code in C in a similar Microsoft fashion, where they check line by line to see if it works. And they go down to the system stack, ask you what stack calls are being performed. And then, yeah, I think that's the lowest level they went to. But yeah, you want to know what's happening under the hood. So after that, yeah, we just handed out our shirts and congratulations. It's been 1 month.
So Abhishek, what are the areas of strength in a candidate that Microsoft looks at?
So Microsoft just wants to make sure that your coding skills and problem solving skills are really, really solid. And if they don't give you a really hard problem, they're going to dig further into the problem and probably ask you follow-up questions, or how I said earlier, they go down to the system level and ask you, now how is this program running down on the microprocessor? So they're not going to let you off with easy questions. That's for sure. They will drill you all the way with coding, but they don't necessarily expect you to know complex data structures and algorithms. They can take something basic and make it complicated enough for you to want to brush up on it. So don't go ahead and prepare for B trees or some of those huge data structures. No one is going to ask that.
So how many offers did Microsoft finally extend at your campus?
So 3 students were hired, 2 from computer science and 1 from IT. And yeah, I think they intended to take a little more, but they didn't like the candidates apparently. So I think last year, the year before our recruitment, they took about 6.
Are there any tips you would give someone aspiring to get into Microsoft?
All right, so I'll tell you what I did to practice for this. After our 3rd year internship interviews, I felt there were a few areas that I was weak in, so I prepared accordingly. So for C aptitude, I looked at Yashwant Kanetkar's Let Us See. I don't know if it's that book or some other book by the same author, but it had just basically 20 chapters of MCQs, and it was very useful. So in spite of it being MCQs. So that was for C aptitude, which helps you in the first round. As for coding, which is the only other area where I put in a lot of effort, I looked at this book called Elements of Programming Interviews, whose authors are, as the cover reads, Aziz, Prakash and Lee. So that's a really good coding book, which has 20 chapters, eerily similar, but divided amongst different data structures, different approaches to programming and whatnot. It starts off with simple problems and gives you these really crazy problems towards the end. It's good fun, really. And apart from that, I think one thing that helped was that my resume had something flashy at the beginning. So I published the paper as part of my software engineering course or something. So I had that on top, and the only thing the interviewer asked from my resume was about that. He didn't look at the rest at all. And I had to answer it in a fair amount of detail. So make sure at least the top of your resume looks legitimate and shiny.